Good afternoon to you. I'm Pastor Thomas J. Sills, the senior pastor of the Connors Temple Baptist Church and a chaplain of the Savannah Police Department. And we are here with Captain Beatty to be able to observe Faith and Blue Weekend. This time last year, we were outside, but because of COVID, we had to do things a little bit more intimately and even more safely. And so we want you to join in, not only join in, do me a favor, hit that share button, get people in our conversation, our dialogue, as we unite faith and blue. That's why we're blue today, right? Y'all got that right. Anyway, but we want you to be able to dialogue with us and be able to experience this conversation and get to know our Savannah Police Department a little bit more. So I'm going to turn it over to Captain. Let her introduce herself. Make sure you bring your mic all the way up.
I am Captain Shamanika Beatty. I'm the commander of the Northwest Precinct in the downtown area.
So let's talk about Faith and Blue. A police officer, what made you do it?
I think it was because I've always had that knack to help people. To just want to, somebody come to you with an issue or a problem, and even though we can't solve everything, it was just that part of me that whatever I could do to make it just a little bit better, I would go that extra mile to do that. And I think that kind of fueled my passion to say, you know what, maybe I can serve people better if I become a law enforcement officer.
We're living in some interesting times, and the harsh reality is there's been so many things going on in the news and in the media when it comes to, even social media, when it comes to police interaction and our citizens. But the reality is, in order for us to be able to cohabitate together, we must realize that we are one and the same.
Yes.
What's your thoughts of people being fearful of the police?
It's disheartening when people are fearful. I feel that I want the community to know that each police officer, they are human beings. They have families, they have things they believe in, and the officers are here to serve a purpose in serving our community.
Most definitely.
And I want us to be able to work together to have that, as you mentioned, that cohabitation, to be able to work together, when it comes to our youth, to be able to say, hey, there's a problem in this community, and we go out there, we want that interaction from that community so they know that we're here to help. We're not here to hurt. We're here to help. We want to make sure our kids are safe. We want to make sure our kids are getting the education they need. We want to make sure that the community knows we're here to serve them.
When they organized this Faith in Blue, it was really to be that bridge between police officers and the community through the faith-based community. And we know traditionally the faith-based community has played an integral part in our communities. And so that's why this was birthed, to use that faith community as a conduit. So you're in this area of our church. This is your precinct. And we have a great working relationship. But let me tell you something. We have some amazing officers.
Yes, we do.
At SPD. Now, I say that I'm biased, not because I'm a chaplain. I've literally been raised around this police department my whole life. My mother worked 34, 35 years before she retired. Wasn't an officer. She worked in the property and evidence room and all that good stuff. So I'm a little biased, but we have some outstanding men and women that serve in our police department. To understand that, let's talk about you.
Okay.
So you live about 3-4 hours away, right?
No, I don't. I'm right here in the community. I didn't grow up here,
okay.
But I grew up in a small town, Millen, Georgia. So for me, everybody knew everybody. You knew your friends' parents, you knew the people you go to school with, parents, they know your parents. So it was more so of that if you do something before you got home, your mama and daddy, grandma, everybody already knew what you did. So you might as well go ahead and come off of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was due to going to church together.
Yeah.
You know, you knowing the people that you go to church with, and you know, knowing their families. So the church was actually like that bridge to bring the community together. So that's where my background from it comes from, with wanting to build and work with the community, just having that close knit of how I was raised.
So, I mean, you understand, you know, this area in which you cover, you know,
Yes.
which is, so give us the jurisdiction that you have in this area.
For the area that I cover is the entire downtown district, West Savannah. We have Fraser and Caton, which is right here. The precinct, Connors Temple, is in the area that we cover. We have the downtown area as well. We cover all of those areas. Yamacraw is also included in our area.
So you are literally, I guess you would say, in the heart of our city with so many young people, Fraser, Caton, and especially Yamacraw. What are the challenges that we're facing, and how can we as a community, not just a community of faith, but we as a community can help?
One of the biggest challenges that I noticed that we face is our youth.
Yeah.
I feel as though a lot of our youth, somewhere we've kind of lost that connection or that small town feel to where everybody knows everybody and we know what our children are doing. We've lost that. And I feel if as a community we can work together to say, hey, you know, I know your mom. Let me walk over here and let her know. Or, you know, you have that relationship with that officer that rides your area, that you can pass that information to the officer, and then we can see what resources we have that can assist that family, whether it's through Parent University or it's Mr. Bush at the courthouse. Like all of those resources that we have those people that will reach out to these families and provide the assistance that's needed. And I think we've gotten away from just the caring, and
Right.
because it's not, so to say, my child, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think if we get back to that and look at it as, you know, I would want somebody to tell me if my child was doing these things, or I would want to know if my child was involved in a gang. So if we get back to communicating, and just because it's not your child, if we get out of that mentality and start to communicate with each other, I think we probably can reel our youth back in so that we can make sure we save all those that we can.
Our mayor has this thing, he said, we are Savannah strong. So, again, I'm biased. So there are some days that officers park here in our parking lot at the church and across the street on our property. And I'll go out and I'll greet them if I see them and I'm not busy. And they're very warming and open. So as a captain of this precinct, would you even encourage people to stop and talk to a police officer?
I would. There are, like you said before, there are some amazing officers on this police department. A lot of our officers have children. A lot of our officers have families, and they're easy to talk to. They want to engage with the community, but they may not know the reaction they'll get back if they,
Right.
you know, were to start that conversation or get out and play basketball with the kids. All of those things, they work, and they matter to our community. So I would definitely encourage anybody, if you see an officer, they're parked doing something, stop and speak. You know, hold that conversation. There may be something that you can share with them, or they can share with you, you know, to assist. It's like I tell people all the time, I can't fix what I don't know.
Right.
So sometimes if we know more, then we can address those things that we do know.
You know, I was talking to someone the other day, and I made this comment that I don't know how many people of our community know how blessed we are, because there are so many officers who are officers of faith.
Yes.
You know, so you can't judge a book by its cover.
That's true.
So here's the hard question. Do some people have reasons to be afraid of any police officer?
I don't want anybody to be afraid of law enforcement, but I do feel that just with things that have happened and what we see in the news and hear on the radio or even on social media, it has given a perception that all law enforcement officers are just bad people, and that is so far from the case. We have so many that go to church, they worship, they're here because they want to be here, they want to help. For me, it's that whether I can save or reach one person throughout my whole law enforcement career, I feel like I've made a difference. And I always strive, I tell my students all the time, my motto to them is be the change you want to be, be the change you want to see. And I try to live my life that way as well. If I know I want to see something, I want things to change, that is the direction that I go into. I try to model myself so that, if it's something, hey, I think we should do this or we need to move towards this, that is how I move. And I don't want people to be afraid of us. I want them, you see an officer, approach them. Good morning, good afternoon. They get out and play with the kids basketball. All those things, like, it matters to those officers, and they really do appreciate that. Just that, thank you, or just that warm smile, it matters. And I don't want anybody to feel afraid, but I think the negative perception that has been in the news and in the media, I think that has an effect on how some people view law enforcement.
I want to say this, and I want us to grab this, that yes, there have been some negative things that have happened in our country and even in our community. But one bad situation does not mean that everyone is bad. In this profession, I was sharing with Captain before we started today, that in this profession, when you see one bad pastor, people bundle us all as all are bad. No, let's not forget that all of us are human and all of us have proclivities to do some things that we should not do. But I believe that we have such a force and such leadership in our community that we try to weed out those bad apples and try to present to you the best that we have so that you can feel safe, your family can feel safe. So what can we as the church do? Since we are the conduit here, and she don't know I'm gonna ask for a favor when we get offline, so she can't tell me no. So as the church, as I believe we are the conduit in our communities, what can we do to help foster not only better relationship, but to help kill some of the crime in our area?
I feel with the church, just being that critical lifeline to situations will help. A lot of times when we do have those traumatic incidents or situations, we do, as being a chaplain, we have you there to help us help them. Because there's a lot of things that as a law enforcement officer we are aware of and able to do and able to say, but it's something, it comes different when it comes from a pastor of a church or that member of faith that their grandmother or mother, or even if that person goes to that church or any church for that matter, they understand and they can listen to that. And it's just that calming force that you guys help us bring to it. So it's just more of educating and making everyone aware that, law enforcement officers are approachable. They are here to help. When we come into those situations, a lot of times it's after something horrible has happened in your life, and for that person to be there asking questions and sometimes having to do a part of their job that you may not be in favor of, that's not all that there is to law enforcement.
Right.
All of those officers are caring. They're here every day because it's a passion that they have and it's something that they want to do. So I feel like if we continue to just communicate, talk to each other, we communicate with our faith-based members in our community, and just remember to let everyone know that, we are human. Not some people are gonna make mistakes, and all those mistakes can be corrected. We can fix them, and it makes us better people. When we are able to say, hey, this is something that I messed up on. Let's fix it. And with our faith-based community, just that communication and just that reminder to our community that our law enforcement officers are here to help, I think that definitely says a lot.
So I want to ask you a situational question because somebody may want to know, So we're in a day of age where people are afraid to get pulled over, okay? Again, because we have social media and it amplifies situations.
Yes.
We're in the day of, I get to film everything that I do.
Yes.
So let's help that mother, or even a young person may be watching, let's help them understand, okay, I just got pulled over. How do I interact with this officer?
The interaction, it goes as a daily conversation. Although you're being pulled over for the speeding or the red light, whatever that traffic violation is, that officer should be, should greet them, should introduce themselves. They should tell you why you're pulled over, with those things. Even if you disagree and why you were pulled over, there is a chain that you can go through if you feel like this ticket wasn't just. I don't feel like on the side of the road is a place to argue or, go back and forth. I think sometimes that's when situations can become heated or, be a little different versus that. This is why I pulled you over, license and insurance. If you have 10 on your windows, roll your window down so they can see in the car. They introduce themselves or ask you your name, ask you for your information. There is an explanation in why you get pulled over. And a lot of times I'll hear people say, well, they didn't even tell me why they stopped me. Guess what? We can fix that. You can always ask for their supervisor, or you can come by the precinct that same day or the following day. I just don't want anybody to get into an argument that turns sideways
Right.
because you disagree with the ticket.
Right.
I just want everybody to be safe. I mean, people are going to film, and that's okay. And I want our community to remember that our officers also have cameras so that it can capture that interaction from them with you as well. So those are always things we can go back and look at if you feel like something was not professional in that interaction.
So with officers having cameras, when do they start filming? Right when you're pulled over, as they're approaching the car?
Yes.
Okay.
Our policy is that upon that citizen interaction, your body camera should be activated. So by the time they reach the window to talk to you, their camera is running.
Awesome. So you mentioned something. I want us to be educated. Some days people have a bad day.
Yes.
And so if you just happen to come across an officer who's having a bad day, or they feel that the interaction with that officer is aggressive, they can request a supervisor.
They can. You just let that officer know, hey, at this point, I just feel like we're not able to communicate. Can I please speak with your sergeant? And you can, or, a supervisor. And you can sit there and wait, and that sergeant, will come to you so that you can speak with them and get that situation resolved.
And again, remember she said this as well. If for some reason you're not satisfied then, same day you can come to the precinct and talk to someone. Here is what I want us to understand. There is no such as that I can't work with my law enforcement.
Absolutely.
There's no such. My philosophy is that we are all a part of this community. We all live in this community. We are all Savannah strong. And so for us to realize that is to realize that officers are not some outside entity that comes in to super rule over us. We all live in this community. In my neighborhood, it was about 3 or 4 officers on my street. And I'm like, boy, this is the safest street in the city. The chief used to live in the area I live. I never found his house, don't tell me. But I want you to understand that we're all community. We're all part of this community. And what we must develop, and I think we've gotten away from in years gone by, is that it's healthy communication. Yeah. We grew up, everybody knew everybody on the street. Everybody knew everybody in the neighborhood. We've got to get back to that same communication. When I was growing up, when I went somewhere in the city, people like, you Miss Seals, son. I was like, oh, Lord Jesus, here we go again. We need that same kind of interaction, and that will not happen until we realize that we have the right and the opportunity to be able to talk to our law enforcement. I don't like the way law enforcement is going.
Okay.
And I'm talking to grown folk. And I don't like how officers treat me. The only way to be a change is to be a part. So tell somebody how they can be an officer.
To become a law enforcement officer, you can definitely go to our website, savannahga.org. There is a link for the police department. It explains the starting salary. It explains the qualifications. You can also contact our recruiting office, and the number is 912-651-4226. That's the number to our recruiting office. That's also in the information that's on the website. And you can fill out all the information that's needed. People can even do ride-alongs with the police department. You can do that through the recruiting office as well. Of course, you have to give your information, you have to do paperwork, and it has to be approved. But I think ride along is a great way to get that inside of what officers actually deal with on a day-to-day basis while they're working. We're doing a Citizens Police Academy, but of course with COVID, we haven't did that, but they're working on bringing that back in a way that's conducive and safe for everyone. And I really would encourage people to take part in the Citizens Police Academy, because you get a different look at each section and each division and what they do, so that you have a better idea and understanding sometimes of the ins and outs on the day-to-day operations.
So let's rewind the tape. You can ride along with a police officer.
Yes.
You can go to a Citizens Academy when it's available.
Yes.
And I do know that the chief just made mention in a meeting I was in last week that they're trying to see how to get that started again. So you have all the opportunities to interact with our local law enforcement. What makes us so unique and what helps us in the times of crisis and help us avoid more crime in our city is us having a healthy relationship with the law enforcement in our community. We're blessed in this city to have great people like Captain Beatty and so many others who's here that's willing and just want to help and want to keep us safe. And I would tell y'all our nickname for each other, but that'll be a later day. But she's an awesome individual. And again, I can't say it enough. We have some awesome people in our police department. I challenge each and every one of you, get to know your law enforcement. You see them, approach them, talk to them. I do it too. I'm a big dude. And I do not dress like this every day. Most is jeans, a t-shirt. You know, they don't know if I'm preaching or thugging. But I've never approached an officer that was not kind and was not willing to speak to me and converse with me right here in the city of Savannah. And if I know if it's here, it's other places around the country. We're getting ready to wrap this up, but I'm going to give it to Captain for her final words of, again, tell us anything. Tell us what we can do, whatever.
Like I said earlier, I wasn't born and raised here, but since I've been here these last 15 years, Savannah has become my home. I love this city, and I enjoy being a part of this community. My only hope and wish is that we can bridge that gap between the police and the community. And with our faith-based community, with the wonderful law enforcement officers that we have and the great citizens in this community, I know for a fact that that is something that we can actually accomplish. And I just want to encourage everybody, if you see me, if you see another officer out, stop and have a conversation, say hi, stop by the precinct so that you can, you know, if you want to talk and meet with some of them. When you see those officers riding in your neighborhood, wave them down, you know, talk to them. They're out on the bikes or, you know, the Segways. Stop them and just have that conversation. That's what I want, and that is, I feel like our community needs that. We need to get back to the basics, and a part of that basics is our faith community as well, and just communication. I think sometimes, I feel like any situation can probably be fixed with just communication, because sometimes there's only just one thing that you're missing or one thing that somebody forgot to say or left out that can actually correct something that you felt like was just unfixable.
Yeah, I totally agree. Listen, y'all, get to know law enforcement. I'm grateful that our chief decided to be a part for the second year in a row of National Faith in Blue. I was actually hoping and praying we could have got together because we had hamburgers and hot dogs and chips, and I'm hungry, all that last year. But however, we are here. Not only our faith community, but also our officers are here to protect and serve us. And don't forget, we are Savannah Strong. We are the community. We are a part of one another. So listen, maybe you want to make a difference. You want to see a difference in our police department. You're looking for a career. She told you how to be a part. This is how we change the narrative in our country. I have a slogan, and my slogan is this: if you can't tell anybody, you can come to the church. And I want to say that for someone, you may know a crime. You may know who did something. My heart still aches for the young man that they call Free Lunch Baby
Yes.
who lost his life right outside of our church, got shot in the community, but stopped right here in front of our church. His family needs to know who has done it. This is how we build a healthy relationship. You can go to the police officers and you don't have to worry about hearing it again. And if you're afraid to do that, you can always come to the church. So please, ma'am, please, sirs, I encourage all of you to build a relationship with our faith community, build a relationship with our Blue, our police community, and that's what makes us Savannah Strong. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
See, this was a breeze.
It was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
All right, y'all, we are out of here, and I hope and pray that something was informative, but most of all, that you've got an opportunity to not only see Savannah Strong,
Yes.
but feel Savannah Strong.
Yes.
Bye-bye for now.